to learn to say no sometimes, okay?
Oh shit, I'm recording. Finally, I'm doing a part 2. After 4 months. I know I got some stuff wrong in the first part, so thank you for correcting me. And that one guy that posted my animation technique video on Reddit just to trash talk it. You know, my message for you is... Also, if my voice sound different, I don't think it does. I got the coughs, so bear with me. At least I don't have cancer. Lipflaps is a technique for mostly dialogue scenes with only the mouth moving. It's a very common thing in anime for saving resources and time. It's a couple of frames where the shape is changing and looping it so you can still see the mouth moving while the character is talking, because lip sync animation requires more unique drawings and takes more time. 2D and 3D has been used a lot nowadays. It's more about 2D characters mixed with a 3D space. Why would you do the opposite? Any type of scene can utilize this, not just action, or you can just rotate this shot, making it harder and shittier. Okay, I need to stop this go handstander. The usage of a 3D background can make very ambitious scenes come to life without the complications of drawing the background every single time it moves. 3D background is one single model, so you can just move or rotate however you want. You also need to execute it good. Some can feel very floaty when it doesn't work well. Layouts are essential for the key animators and CGI team to understand how the characters interact with the background. Then the last piece is the composite of all of these components mixed together. Additionally, the 3D background should also be good in terms of textures and details. Kanada Dragon is a technique / homage of the fire dragon from Ginma Taisen by one of the most influential animator, Yoshinori Kanada. And granted, a lot of Kanada style animators use this technique for animating dragon, with how less detailed it is to a real dragon, making it seem like just a bunch of lava forming a dragon, using colors or how it's shaped. I don't know if a Kanada dragon has to be a fire dragon. I don't know. I mean, how is this not tagged as Kanada Dragon Boru? POV shot is a camera trick to make the illusion that it's a first person view. The usual technique is to make the hand visible. While it can look easy because you're only animating the hands, although hands are probably the hardest thing to draw, but just to even plan or visualize the idea and executing it can be something hard to translate to the final product with so many components. And for the dumbasses that don't know what POV stands for, it means pounding of vagina. Funny? No? Okay, it means point of view. Slow motion is slowing the motion. Cool. While the notion of timing is very important for animation, slow motion is rarely used because sometimes it doesn't need it, or the project is very limited, so they use a couple of frames, then blur it to trick your mind it's slow motion. It's definitely very tedious with the amount of drawings you need to do for a shortcut. It can be just slow-mo legs or just full body characters running. Inbeetweeners already has a hellish job, so some studios have been using a software called Kakani, where it generates the in-between frames from, I guess, the key animations like Ginga you upload in the software. I don't have the best knowledge of Kakani. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Shadows are very essential for animation or anime.
Warewara shadow god.
It's to create the illusion of depth for drawings, understanding more the structure, distance, position of the certain object. Let's say just you're rotating a lot, so you gotta change the shadows to match the distance of certain things. I've talked about Kagenashi, while you can still do the same with no shadows, but that takes skill. Shadows can be used very exaggeratedly with facial expressions or clothing folds. It's an added thing for realism for anime, and it can also be used for dramatic purposes to create tension or signify different emotions that the character can feel. UFO spin is a very rarely used technique that was, I think, popularized by Yutaka Nakamura. It's a very limited animation thing to give the illusion that something is spinning very fast, like a Beyblade. Go! Absorb break! Yeah! Simplifying it to just streaks of colors and a UFO looking design. While it can seem limited at times, but Yutaka Nakamura does make it look good, it still gives off that fluid nature and still giving it that sense of speed that some usage of this couldn't. It's the same thing as another thing that Utapon does with simplifying a character, making it just a circle shaped that's going like Mach 20. And with Utapon using the UFO spin, a lot of webgen / new animators has been using it. Not that frequently though, but a lot more now compared to back then, seemingly. Ohira style is a style. Shut by the legendary animator Shinya Ohira. I know, crazy discovery. He has a very unique style of animating that some people got confused thinking it was AI. I mean, that's just a different level of compliment. While it's not as popular as Kanada style, it kind of has the same philosophy as Norio style of fluidity and straying away with the character design of the show. But Ohira does use a lot of lines, or just like pencil lines. It's the stylistic look of the style, although not much animators have used this, but some do, like Akihiro Oda. While it's not exaggerated like Ohira, it still has that messy line art. Shota Gozuzono has experimented with it. Same goes with the most recent example is by Michael Kobayashi in Elusive Samurai, and some more probably I missed. Also, since Ohira now has become more of an animation teacher, maybe we'll see more Ohira style animators stuff in the future. Rotation shots is a certain scene where it's rotating. It's a very tricky shot to animate. Not only you are animating a character, you have to rotate the character in different angles slash perspectives, with most of the time hard count of drawing, since you can't really make the illusion of a person rotating with this type of tracking shot and have that sense of three-dimensional to it. While most of this usually use a 3D background or a illustrated background, there are the occasions of utilizing a 2D background, which is something that's hard to do. Sorry. There's a lot of type of rotating shots. One example is this rotating shot called a Mawari Komi, where it's tracking a certain character or object with the illusion of the illustrated background, giving more nuance to the scene. It can be the background or giving more movement to, let's say, the hair. Chang explained it way better, so check him out if you're interested. And he's an animator, so big brain. Kanada light flare is a technique, more so a stylistic approach of a light flare, popularized by Yoshinori Kanada, as the name suggests. It is a cross-shaped light flare, usually to emphasize a shine on certain things, like robots, the shine of a sword, or just when a character jumps in the view of the sun, then emanating the shine for a couple milliseconds with the light flare. Again, with Yoshinori Kanada name attached to this thing, a lot of Kanada style animators does use this in their animation, and I think Gurren Lagann is a prime example that use a lot for some of the episodes or just for the eye catch. And of course Gainax and Trigger used it a lot, since these studios are the home for new and veteran Kanada style animators, and they also have a exploding shape style that they're popular with, kind of like the cross explosion thing. Black and white is a very unique coloring technique. No, not the Pokemon game. And of course, I'm not talking when anime was black and white. While sequences like this don't need coloring or even compositing, since you don't need to color it. Take this Spencer Wonka he did. If you compare it to the Genga and the final product, it literally doesn't look any different. So yes, it is easier to do, but it still looks visually very interesting to a lot of viewers. I think Black Clover does this a lot for their climactic moments, and there's some that can do it for the OP. It can also be used for signifying flashbacks or dream sequences, with this style of coloring to differ with the usual normal looking stuff. And another example is the dark setting like in Dandan episode 2, with this very monochromatic slash black and white coloring that can still make the characters still pop out more, unlike shit like Orb where you can't see shit. Speedlines are in the same type of genre, I guess you can say, with making limited drawings adding speedlines beside the characters. It can be in all different directions. It communicates to you that there's implied movement in a scene without actually moving. Maybe you see this more in some of the limited ass isekai slash fantasy projects where most of the action don't actually have movement, so the role of speedlines are used a lot to imply action. Or take this shot in Demon Slayer where it is limited, but the speedlines kind of enhanced it with this more inky like style of speedlines. Or you can overuse it like Blue Lock season 2, where sometimes it's just unnecessary to put the speedlines in some of the scenes in the show. Rush attacks is a flurry of attacks. It can be punches or kicks. It's a technique using after images to give the illusion that it's a barrage of attacks. JoJo used it a lot. I don't know if they are the ones that made this thing or popularized it, but with the nature of the show, they use it a lot with the muda muda muda. Oh shit, wrong anime. It's actually quite a common technique in action scenes because it is very easy to do with using after images. Of course, some do it in a more limited nature or a more fluid matter with this Gosei Oda sequence in One Punch Man. Inbeetweening slash doga is a technique is basically filling in the gaps left by the key animator to complete the animation process. The doga artists also get a timesheet or just notes to communicate what is the timing and spacing for that specific scene. As you know, animation can be in 1s, 2s, 3s, etc. While usually most underappreciate the works of in-betweeners, it is very essential to make a sequence good. If that part of the animation lacks a lot, it can look a bit off. Since now more in the industry is more dysfunctional, there's a lot of doga artists doing other stuff than in-betweenings that they are not good at yet, because some productions are just so broken they desperately need people to do other things that they are not assigned to. Since in-betweenings is a very good practice to understand the fundamentals in the industry, and a lot of veteran animators were in-betweeners for their first job. Live action mix is basically live action real backgrounds mixed with the 2D anime characters. Usually the live action aspect are just real backgrounds that some people scout and take pictures of backgrounds, then making it into the style that fits the anime, or just add a disgusting ass filter. But this is a 2D anime character with live action backgrounds. It definitely can look aesthetically pleasing since there isn't much use of this. In terms of an episode, the only one I can think right now that have used this is that POV shot of Nadeko running in the new Monogatari season, and maybe that one episode of Kimai Seikatsu, or examples and endings like with Makeine's first ending, Shoshimin's ending, Sarazanmai's ending, and there's probably more. It's the same thing as 3D backgrounds. You have to mix these two components well since they are in two different dimensions. And that's probably it. I feel like there's a low chance for part 3. Even for this one, I had to go deep in your mother's vajayjay. But I'm gonna still title this a part 2 rather than final part because, you know, there is a chance. There's nothing much else to say. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts on animation techniques, stuff. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys next time.